So, guys, I want to talk about Hikaru Shida becoming the AEW champion again. And definitely, this is a bad thing because just like with Orange Cassidy, it's more of a continuation championship, meaning that, it's somebody's held a title for a while and then they take it off and they're going to put it back on them. Like, honestly, the whole point of Saraya becoming the women's champion in AEW was to pop the Wembley crowd. And then, because she's the hometown girl. And then also, it's a continuation because she's because with Shida, she's also been like over a 1 year champion, so kind of um it does kind of like it's gonna be like the same old shit. And as I said with AEW, that they have a lot of novelty acts, which is it's kind of like the same wrestler doing the same thing, and eventually it becomes repetitive and unwatchable. So I do think that and then the other thing too with Shida is that she doesn't is that I don't remember any of her promos or anything like that. So a lot of people will say that maybe she's a Joshi wrestler or stereotype her as a Joshi wrestler, which means a wrestler that comes from Japan. And as Kenny Meg, as Jim Cornette would say, that Kenny Olivier probably has her because he wants to fuck her or something like that. I don't think that that's the case. I think that they say like Kenny Omega favors Japanese wrestlers because he's into Japanese culture. That's kind of alleged from Jim Cornette and other people. But I do think that there's ways to make Hikaru Shida better. And I'm going to give you that because I don't think that just negative criticism is where I should leave it at. So with Hikaru Shida, like I think that what she should kind of say is that I don't see real I don't really see real competition in the women's division, but I'm going to give you guys one more chance to bring what you have really, to see if you can kick my ass because I can kick all your asses, and then she's kind of like saying that she's going to leave the company with the title or she's going to go back to Japan or wherever because she feels like there's no woman that's good enough in AEW. So the first person I would do is Julia Hart because she lost against Chris Statlander, but she's kind of been very vicious, and you can kind of see them have a match at Full Gear, and I definitely want it to be like a first blood match between both of them, and I think that that would be really good. If you want to have Shida win, you do that, and then you have Shida versus. Then you also will do something that there's a lot of like hardcore matches in in TNA Impact Wrestling, so you kind of like maybe almost have her do an invasion to Impact Wrestling and bring her title, and maybe do like the Impact Champion versus the AEW Women's Champion, because you never really kind of see a woman go from one company to another company while being under contract, and then she has more hardcore matches and other things like that. And what I would do is and what I would do is that eventually she's going to have a feud with Britt Baker, and I'm going to have the title go back and forth with Shida and Britt Baker. I'm going to have like the bitch of the cage match. I'm going to really emulate the things you saw with like Awesome Kong and Gail Kim, and then also some of the hardcore matches, the shocking hardcore women's matches you see in Impact Wrestling, and then later on I'm going to do at Wembley. I'm gonna do like maybe a hardcore barbed wire match or a hardcore women's match at Wembley. Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida, and she just says if I if I leave Wembley with the title, I'm going to I'm just gonna go with the championship, or even like or even if you don't do that, and Thunder Rosa kind of said like I've been out, I'm a little bit doubting myself, but there's something I need to prove. I need to prove that I can be a champion of the women's division. And then you do like Shida versus Thunder Rosa, and they have a hardcore women's match at Wembley, and that's what you do. And the reason why I would say like make Shida a hardcore wrestler is because you don't see a lot of that in the women's division, and Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa have gone over with that. And I also think that you're not seeing a woman go to another company with a title, so it can kind of be like an allegory to Jade leaving AEW to NXT or the WWE main roster. So it can kind of give people that emotion of, oh well, no, we got like a bitch that thinks she's too that's too big for the company. Like her queefs don't stink. type of thing, really. And I also think with Shida, like she has like the kendo stick, and she's kind of like a hardcore wrestler as well. And and you look at her cosplay, she's inspired by that girl from Kill la Kill. So I think you kind of almost need to live up to that, really. And I think that, as I said, that maybe if you have the international title or the ROH women's title or the TBS women's title kind of be more of a regular match, or like, because Chris Statlander is kind of like a powerhouse type, you kind of have more of the powerhouse, more physical. Like Statlander versus Nyla Rose would be something, or Statlander versus Athena would be something. So you're kind of separating the women. You're kind of saying, okay, now with the AEW Women's Championship, it's going to be hardcore matches or semi-hardcore, like a first blood match. And you do that for a while. But the TBS title is going to be a more physicality title. And then with the Women's ROH Championship, it's going to be more of a title for somebody to overcome an underdog type of thing. So then that way you have three titles, and maybe at one pay-per-view you can do like the queen of AEW, like you do the TBS versus the AEW women's and the ROH title. It's not like a winners take all, but you kind of say like, the winner is going to get, maybe a shot at what, like maybe the winner gets like, $1 million or donated to a charity or something like that. Like honestly, and if Shida gets pinned, you kind of have to do a contendership match or something like that. You would have to kind of work it out a little bit. But I think that this would be a good direction. And like I said, you have like a storyline that leads to Thunder Rosa getting the championship, and people are going to pop for her at Wembley. And I also will say that the other reason is that Thunder Rosa, I believe she's like Latina. So you don't have a lot of Latino champions, a lot of Latina champions. And I would also kind of say too that, like Thunder Rosa speaks English. So you don't have like a luchador that can't speak English at all, or speaks Mexican, or is kind of like silent, speaks Spanish, or is kind of silent. So you kind of lead to something. And then you also give Shida something, and then you have a direction with the women's division. I really think that with a lot of these women that want to face Shida and lose to her, or think that they're good and they kind of lose and they're kind of like crying over losing, or just like, I did so much and I couldn't defeat the unstoppable, it kind of creates a sense of emotion. I put my blood, sweat, and tears, and I got nothing out of it. So I think that would be a good direction for Shida. I'm happy to give that. And they need to make the women's division great again. And like I've said, the reason why WWE beat them in the ratings is because they don't know how to build stars in AEW, and clearly they don't know how to build women's stars. If you're going to do a continuation with Shida, I think my idea is the best way to make her a star and other women a star as well.